Hi, this is Phil Shapiro. I came across this really delightful book. It's a new book that's titled, What's That Mom? How to Use Public Art to Engage Your Children with the World Around Them Without Being an Artist Yourself by Shala Howell. And this is a sumptuous book on parenting. It's got gorgeous photographs that were taken by the author of the book. Here's the author, right here. Here's the author, Shala Howell. Here's her Twitter. You can look it up. It's well worth following her on Twitter because I have a hunch there's more great stuff coming from her. And so the photographs are from her husband, and her daughter, who was 5 years old at the time this book was written. And so the family was living in Massachusetts at the time, and at that time, so this is the back cover of the book. If you're reading this, you probably see one of those studies that says, creating art boosts your children's language development. Or maybe heard a story on the radio talking about how engaging your children with art can give them the critical thinking skills they need to thrive in our visual world. And you probably thought, how am I going to do that? I am not an artist. Well, I'm not either. Much to my surprise, that didn't matter. It turns out that even the artistically inept parents can use public art to engage their children with the world around them. Let me tell you how. So this book has 15 tips, 15 important tips. Man, I like this book. It's just so pretty. It's comfortable to hold, and it's not a long book. It's like 80 pages long, but it's filled with just good advice, lovely little stories. And so the family was living in this town, Dedham, Massachusetts. And in the summer of 2012, Dedham Shines, a local nonprofit dedicated to the spread of public art, installed 15 artist-decorated fiberglass rabbits. These are oversized rabbits, like huge rabbits, horse-sized rabbits almost, in various public spaces across the town of Dedham, Massachusetts. The form of each rabbit was the same, the iconic crouching rabbit made by Dedham Pottery during America's arts and crafts period, 1890 to 1910. Fiberglass animal company Cowpainter produced the art form. And these are what they look like. They were painted by different artists. This artist over here is Lisa Hauck, who made Spiral Bunny. So the book has tips. I'll read you some of the tips. It won't give away the book if I read you some of the tips. Tip number 1, be ready to stop at a moment's notice. Tip number 2, 5 minutes really is all it takes. Tip number 3, follow your child's lead. Tip number 4, beware of your surrounding. Tip number 5, make time for play. Tip number 6, vandalism happens. Talk to your child about it. Tip number 7, answer only the questions your child asks. So, and then it goes on and on and on with a bunch of other tips. And let's see some of the other, this is another little quote from the book. Public art is often outside, and when kids are outside, they're going to want to play. As much as possible, be prepared for this, and if you can, allow some time for it. Even 5 minutes of chasing after butterflies will go a long way to keeping your child excited about seeking out public art in the future. One little passage in this book I really found interesting was how taking 5-year-old to art museums just doesn't cut it. I took my daughter to several art museums and it didn't work. So this public art is fundamentally different from art that's in a museum. And public art can be touched and you can run circles around it. Okay. So that's really interesting. And then it goes on over here. 5 years later, my daughter is constantly creating. She draws, paints, sculpts, finger knits, takes pictures, writes and illustrates stories, and makes stuffed animals. She uses anything she can get her hands on. Old buttons, popsicle sticks, scraps of yarn, PowerPoint, excuse my language, rags, cardboard boxes, duct tape, staples, and yes, glitter. So this is interesting. So the author here has sparked her child's interest in art and creativity. And let's take a little bit more look. This is the 5-year-old, her child, creating a t-shirt tribute to the Bengal Bunny. Let's go look at the Bengal Bunny. So this is the Bengal Bunny. Isn't that gorgeous? Whoever made that, it's just totally gorgeous. And this bunny happened to be vandalized in the public space. And not only was it vandalized, but one of the neighbors came and put a bandage on the vandalism. So there was both an act of violence and an act of caring that followed the act of violence. And nobody knows who created the vandalism, and nobody knows who created the act of caring. But it created very interesting conversations. And the child, the 5-year-old girl in this story, she wanted to go back to visit this bunny often to offer her sympathies while the bunny was healing from the vandalism. So isn't that interesting? This is a really lovely, lovely book. It is so colorful. I wonder who published it. Let's take a peek at who's the publisher. Let's see. The publisher is, does it say? Caterpickles Press. Caterpickles Press out of Chicago. So, this is What's That Mom? A very delightful book. Maybe makes a nice present for a parent with young children, or somebody who's a librarian, or an early childhood educator, or whoever. A very lovely book, What's That Mom? By Shala Howell. If you like my book reviews, you can go see a collection of my book reviews at sites.google.com/site/Phil Shapiro Book Reviews. I make my book reviews using some free software called Simple Screen Recorder. I have a Linux laptop. I record my audio to an Olympus digital audio recorder. And I have a Logitech webcam that's doing the video part of this right here. Here's my contact information if you wanted to contact me. His.com is Heller Information Service in Rockville, Maryland. It's a family-owned business. I love supporting small businesses, and they treat me like royalty. I mean, that's what happens when you support small businesses. They very often treat you very well, which you can't always say for big businesses, right? And if you wanted to, you can also support me on my Patreon. So I have a Patreon website, and this is what it looks like. And you can make a monthly donation for as low as $1 a month or $2 a month or more. And that's my Patreon. This is Phil Shapiro. See you next time.